objects of art and collectibles they do not own than the values of the books in their home library shelves. Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Good morning, my fellow rare bookians, and welcome to today's broadcast of Books on the Bookshelf. I'm your host, Steve the Bookman Eisenstein, and you are listening to us live on the WDBF radio network. We urge you right now to take out something to write with, take out something to write on, and copy down our call-in number, 888-575-4394. That's 888-575-4394. We'd love to hear your questions. We'd love to know what you're doing in the wonderful world of rare books. Realize that if you ask questions like this when we're not on the air, we do charge a hefty fee by the hour. So we love on Saturdays to kind of give back all the knowledge we've acquired over the last week and 57 years before that and kind of share it with you. But, your questions could really make for a variety of different topics. So give us a call, 888-575-4394. A lot's been going on the past few weeks. I always say I'm a public face and a private person, so this is on a personal note. I'm waiting for tests, results, courses of action, and all that other crap that goes with GOS, as in getting old sucks, but, do it gracefully. Book-wise, it's been interesting. I have to give a shout out to Max Roback. For those of you who don't know Max, Max is, for the last 2 months, we've done a feature every second Saturday on this show, and we'll continue to do it. Book Talk with Steve and Max. And I've been working with Max, who has an incredible background in the wonderful world of rare books. He was tutored under the tutelage of Robert Patel, an exceptionally well-known and very knowledgeable dealer, and he has added his own personality to that and has come up with a really, really, really good business model. I've been sending him, and I think we sent him 15 boxes of books in the last 2 sessions, and he's been doing very well for us. If you have too many books and not enough time, I mean, it's kind of like the situation we're in right now. Um, Max is a great guy for that. I am really amazed by what he's been doing. So shout out to you, Max, and thanks. And if you have questions, we'd love to answer them. 888-575-4394 is the number. I think we're going to be getting a caller soon. I hope so, because I'm running out of material early today. But luckily, Fine Books and Collections magazine came in the mail yesterday, so I got to tell you, that's always a joy. We used to get a magazine every week, and it was called the AB Bookman's Weekly. Unfortunately, they didn't keep up with modern times, and they went by the wayside. But this is an absolute um, great substitute. It just doesn't do as much business as the AB used to do, but that's another story. I love the name of some of these auction companies. Potter and Potter Auctions, Fine Books and Manuscripts on July 24th. I gotta tell you, fiction is getting wacky. I know it's not my forte in terms of, no, I've never read a lot of these famous novels, and yes, I sold a lot of them, but it doesn't mean I don't know their place in the market. And I gotta tell you, it's kind of disappointing when you see the Junkie by Burroughs, and what looked like a really nice ace double, is only going for 300 to 500. The Hunt for Red October, well, finally it's balancing out. 8 to 1200 for a first edition signed copy. You used to be able to get 2 grand for it just in the first edition. In Cold Blood's got $1,000 to $1,200 estimate on it. Farewell to Arms, based on the jacket, it's 2 to 4,000. If you're looking for a copy, it's a nice jacket. All the Sad Young Men by Fitzgerald was only 5 to 700, but the jacket looks a little rough. But this magazine is just amazing. Um, in terms of what they're offering. I got to laugh. The U.S. Postal Service debuted stamps featuring illustrations by Clement Hurd from the 1947 book by Margaret Weiss Brown. It's among the best-selling children's publication of all times. I wonder if we have any of those stamps. I'm never going to have to pay for postage for the rest of my life, I don't think. We're still selling them out there. If anybody wants $25 in usable postage, I mean $50 in usable postage, we have enough to make up a whole bunch of $25 packages of that. $25 worth of stamps, $50 worth of stamps for 25 in cash. Um, just amazing. Um, I think instead of going through, let's see what else is going on. If there's anything that's really, really, really eye-catchy in here, because otherwise I feel like I'm just kind of reading from the magazine and I'm not highlighting anything. So let's see what they have in the back. I think this is the issue that has, yeah, okay. Biblio 360. It has all the book clubs and societies that you might ever want to find a book club or a society for. Cambridge Bibliographical Society, the Book Hunters Club of Houston, the Book Club of California. Hey, we've got a bunch of Book Club of California books. Unfortunately, they're on Philaly. Huh? The American Society of Book Plate Collectors and Designers. The Ampersand Club. That's interesting. The Bibliographical Society of America, and it goes on and on and on. The Early Book Society, the Movable Book Society, the Miniature Book Society, Penguin Book Lovers, anybody? Wow, okay, they really have a lot going on here. Oh, here's another one, okay? If you want to know what's going on in classes and seminars, this is really an interesting schedule. The American Academy of Bookbinding has got stuff going on. If you are interested in that, give us a call. If any of these things interest you, give us a call and we'll tell you more details on how to contact them. The Antiquarian Book Seminars, the CAB seminars have moved to Minnesota. Um, you know, those are phenomenal courses. The Jaffe Center for Book Arts, the Center for Book Arts, it goes on and on. California Rare Book School, uh, and it goes on and on. Events and exhibits, well, that's what's going on. What I'm really looking for is not in this issue, and that's the way it goes. But if you are new or if you are established, there's no ifs, ands, or buts that, putting an ad in this magazine, subscribing to it, is going to keep you informed for a very, very long time. Between that and firsts, I think you have some tremendous reading potential where you can garnish some seriously good knowledge. Well, I'll tell you, I'm thinking about what we're going to do for the next few minutes if so and so doesn't call. So I've tried to do this before. Let's see if we can do it again. What I've been doing seminar-wise, I don't know if this is going to work or not, so let's try it a different way. For those of you who are new, we're going to be doing some reviewing on what you want to do if you're at a garage sale and you're at an estate sale. I'm not talking about a seasoned dealer. I'm talking about a lot of people, especially like the 73 new people that joined Vintage Rare and Antique Books this week. And a lot of you that might be first-time listeners. We have found out that we have a very large overseas audience. I wish we could find some way that this overseas audience can communicate with us, somehow, but I guess nobody has the phone bill budget. We don't. No collect calls from Russian prisons. Yes, that's on the instruction sheet. But what you need to do is when you go to a sale, and it's a general sale, all kinds of books. It could be a Friends of the Library sale. It could be an estate sale, it could be a garage sale, any type of thrift store, anything like that, where you're going to see a lot of books. What are the ones that you really want? You see a whole pile of art books, okay? What is desirable in art books? Now, if you have an open shop and you got the general public and space is not a problem, some of what I'm saying is not accurate to your business model because you have the space and you can sell $15, $20 books. And at the end of the day, I always say, if somebody sold $20 books or two $200 books, at the end of the day, they both made $400. And chances are the guy that sold at $20 a piece for 20 books made more money than the guy that sold two books for $400. So, I'm just trying to organize your thoughts into what's really good, not shelf stock good, but really good. So when you talk about something like art, architecture, and photography, it makes it very easy to describe what you're looking for in those three categories. They have overlapping symptoms, so to speak. When you're looking at an art book, you don't want general titles, the art of the world, the art of this museum, this collection, that collection. What you want are books about a singular artist, preferably a modern artist with lithographs. And let's face it, that's where most of the money in art books lies. The masters, you can find a good catalog raisonné of Picasso and get 20 grand for it. But, you see a 2-volume set of Claude Lorraine, it might be $50. So, catalog raisonnés are very desirable. It just depends on the artist. And generally speaking, you want the more modern artists because those are where the lithography, that's where the lithographs would lie. Um, you want the catalog raisonné because everybody wants the complete listing. So in art books, catalog raisonné, art books that have lithographs in them, art books where the artist doodled on the end paper, signed it, in a calligraphic type handwriting. I had about 3 or 4 GOM signatures in the last few weeks, and each one was kind of more rainbowy than the others. So, it depends on how they signed it and again, in what book they signed it. When you're talking about photography, it's the same thing. I don't want photographs of the world. I want a book about a singular photographer. Edward Weston, Henry Cartier-Bresson, Paul Strand, Stieglitz. I can go on Margaret Bourke-White, Bonfils. I can go on and on and on with names of photographers. But you want a singular named photographer in a book. You know, it, like with Henry Cartier-Bresson, find decisive moments. If decisive moments has the acetate printed dust jacket that came with it, and it has the captions. You're looking at a couple of grand. I saw a copy recently that was signed and inscribed by him for 8 grand. So decisive moments, the Europeans, specific titles by specific photographers, very, very collectible. Ansel Adams, my camera at Point Lobos, Strand in Mexico with the orchids. Oh my God, unbelievable. And others. So photography. Architecture is the same thing. You don't want architects of the world. You want specific monographs by noted architects and not modern reprints. What you're looking for, and a lot of these modern reprint books are foolers. I mean, big, thick, Rizzoli, lots of images, but, where's the price? $50, $100, something like that. So what you're really looking for are the earlier titles, not so much the reproductions in art, architecture, and photography. Fine press books. To some of you, that might be a new word completely. Fine press. What does it imply? It implies exactly what it says. Everything about that book, the paper, the printing, the ink, um, whatever was involved was going to be done with the highest of standards and some of the most well-known names, in their field. So when you see something like the Kelmscott Press, the Doves Press, Koala Press, the Shendy Press, Derrydale Press, all of those are fine presses, and there are many of them. Just because you find a fine press book doesn't mean you found a fortune. But even some of their lower end stuff, is still pretty good and desirable. You need to know the names of them, and fine press. You find some fine press books. There's no ifs, ands, or buts that you'd be very happy if you did. Children's books. Well, that's a subject area that you could spend hours on because there's so much to discuss. But highlights of it. What you're looking for in pre-1900s are the classics like Alice in Wonderland, Black Beauty, etc., etc. What you're looking for that's the more collectible and saleable type children's books are the children's illustrated books. The Scribner series that was done in the 20s and reprinted so many times after that. Even the reprints are saleable. If you can find first editions of the Scribner's children's series books, and if you could find them in dust jackets, you have a great combination of something that should sell pretty easily. One of the things you need to know about the children's illustrated books from Scribner's and whether they're first editions or not is very simple. Look at the top edge of the book. If the top edge of the book is a gilt edge, then it tells you that you have the first printing of that book. But like I said, even the later printing, stuff that was done in the 30s, 40s, are still desirable because grandparents, parents on a budget, they want to give those books to the kids. Children's series books, there's so many of them. In actuality, there's I'm not an expert on this. James D. Keyline, he's the expert. But what I'm telling you, I've learned from him. Some of the later series books in the first run are harder to find than the first edition of the first one because they didn't print as many at the end. Little factoids you need to know. But children's series books are almost always collectible. I won't say collected. They don't always bring a high price, but generally speaking, they're saleable. Another subject area, let's see, we've got about 2 minutes left in this segment. Definitely hit tape at 11 o'clock. Another subject matter is history in general and history specific. In the old days of the A.B. Bookman's Weekly, they came out with an annual. And if you were talking about something like Indians, American Indians, you would have 25 different subheadings under there for what people are looking for in that area. So history. Western Americana is a very, very desirable topic that people really go for in this field. It could be anything from antiquarian, something that was published in Texas, early on, or the first book in California, or it could be a lot of very scholarly university press books from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. I remember going to Norman, Oklahoma for the express purpose of book hunting. I'll tell you about that when we come back from these commercial words. Welcome back, my fellow Rare Bookians. Got any questions? We've got answers. We might even do a little fortune telling today. Give us a call, 888-575-4394. That's 888-575.
Steve, you have a caller on the line.
Ah, phenomenal. Okay. Who do we have on the line? Is this Carol?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Carol. Welcome to Bucks on the Bookshelf. Tell us, I know I read what you typed in the message, but for the audience, in your words, describe what we're going to be talking about.
From the late 90s into the early 2000s, I was a member of the Books of Wonder Collectors Club, which the Books of Wonder, which you may already know, was a bookstore in New York City. I got actually to go there one time, and I miss that they're not around anymore. So for a good decade, I was a member of the club, and you would receive catalogs, and you could order books through them, signed by the author and or the illustrator. And they would come wrapped in, a good clear acetate, and you could get sometimes limited editions. And I would play a game with myself to try to guess which books would win the Caldecott and order them before they
Mm-hmm.
were announced. And I only succeeded in that just one time, but that was fun. It was Grandfather's Journey by Alan Say. So, being busy with keeping children at home and a job, I discontinued doing that, and they have sat in a shelf, and I'm retired now, thinking about downsizing. I asked my children what interest they had in this collection, and they said, "Mom, you never let us touch them. We have no interest in it whatsoever."
Okay, well, that's good because they're all in perfect condition, I presume. All right.
Yes, some
Let
that I
me,
picked up at flea market things, and they're not in as good condition.
okay, now, what kind of, you mentioned something, but I need a little reiteration. What, did you do any research on these at all on your own?
I've done some research of them, yes. I've been
Okay.
online doing searches just to get an idea of what they were worth. I didn't know at the beginning what the appreciation or not was going to be. I just loved the book. And so I'm seeing now that for a large part, many of these have increased in value, some of them significantly.
Yes, yeah, I'm not arguing with that. Um, so some of the ones, I don't know the titles cold, but in your mind's eye, what are some of the more well-known author illustrator combinations? But let me also ask another question. You said these are signed. Are they stated limited editions? Is there a number that says this is copy number 222 of whatever it is, or this is one of 1,000 and it doesn't have a number but it's signed? What does that look like in those books? Or is there any kind of limitation statement?
There are a few, yes. For example, I have What Can You Do with a Shoe? The box, signed and numbered. It's still in the shrink wrap. So
Oh,
even though I have
okay.
documentation signed
All right,
and
we'll talk about shrink wrap in a second. Does it say what is the number and how many? Like, in other words, this is copy number X of X. Fill in the X's.
I don't know. It's on the
Oh, of course, it's
outside.
inside. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Shrink wrap is a double-edged sword. If you leave something in shrink wrap too long, moisture can form inside and you can have a problem. I'm not telling you to open them by any means, it's just eventually when you sell something like that, like myself, if I have a book that is shrink wrapped and I'm going to sell it, I'm going to make a note that I opened the book and that it was shrink wrap up until I opened it. Now, I'm doing that for another reason. If I sell it, let's say there were 2,000 books that were printed, and, this is, number whatever. What happened if they missed the signature? I have to know that what I'm sending out, even though it's shrink wrap, has the signature. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Did you find any prices on that particular book?
I did, and of course, I'm not a reseller online, so I don't have access to what things were actually sold for. I'm only seeing what they're listed for.
And that's
And I
okay with
saw that.
those books. That with those books, you're not doing an appraisal. You need a guideline. If I'm doing an appraisal, then yeah, I want more factual than a dealer listing. But the right dealer listing with the right reputation, comes out to be a credible price. Sometimes, let's say you find the book listed, one person has it at $3,000, and they have the ultimate high-end reputation, and another person has it at 1800. You're paying for I've had to explain to clients many times, you paid an extra charge that is not that doesn't translate out into appreciative value down the road. What do you mean? I spent $125,000 on these two presidential letters and they're only worth 150 20 years later? Well, yeah, So it depends on who listed the price when it comes to that. Either price could be accurate. What was the highest number you saw for one of the books?
For what you can do with a shoe, I saw 300.
Okay, and how? Okay, now here's a question. I'm going to help you so you can analyze a little more. How many copies were offered for sale? So, and did you go to Adall or Via Libre? Which one did you go to?
I believe I saw that on Abe Books.
Abe. Okay. Well, first of all, Abe and Biblio, they're great sources, but if you only go to Abe, you're going to get Abe. If you only go to Biblio, you're only going to get Biblio. However, if you go to addall.com, ADDALL.com, you will get all of them. So where you might have only seen one or two copies on Biblio, you might see 6 or 7 copies on Addall or Via Libre. Addall is the general place to go. Via Libre, I go to when I know it's a certain type of book, but after 57 years, I don't expect you to have that kind of skill. So if you go to Addall, you're doing very well and you're getting the best information you can because you get Abe, you get Biblio, you get Amazon, all of that you get on addall.com without having to go to different sites. So you'll see a wider array. All right, so let's talk about the shoebox book. You said you saw a price of $300 on it. What I would want to know is how many other copies were listed and what were the dealers that listed them? What was their reputation? Now, you might not know these cold. I might not know all of them cold, but they can be found out and there are clues. If a dealer belongs to an association, like if you look at my credentials, it says FABA, FABA, Florida Antiquarian Book Dealers Association. What that means is I was vetted by a group of peers, and my reputation is neat and clean in the group. Um, when you see that with other letters, it could be Marib, it could be, Rocky Mountain Booksellers, whatever it is, ABAA, ILA, all kinds of other, all kinds of letters. It just means that they have been vetted. So you can kind of take their prices within a realm of reality, unless they're one of the really high-end dealers. So you got a high price at 300. Let's say you got somebody that doesn't know what they're doing and they put $50 on it, and then there's a couple of others in the middle. That's what you're looking at, what the normal price range would be. Now, you're right. You're not a dealer, and, unless you have clients, don't expect to get retail. But what you should do is go through all 30 books, take your time, get an idea of how many are listed, how many books you say you have 30, how many were published altogether?
About
How many?
yeah,
How
about
many?
40.
40.
40.
Well, and you don't have all of them, though.
Yeah, they're all right here on the table. Yep.
You have every book published in that series. Well, now we're
Oh
talking.
no,
Oh, okay.
no, I don't have any series here for the most part.
Okay.
In all,
Well,
probably 40 that are illustrated children's books.
Got you. Okay. Well, it depends on how many they publish. It sounds like you're close to a complete run, but without it being a complete run, then you can't put on an added value. Let's say we're talking hypothetics here. Let's say we know that there's 40 books in this series, and you had all 40. The individual sum total of the parts is X, but I would tell you if you had all of them, it would be X plus somewhere between 10 and 20% because you have the collection and now it has form and shape versus an accumulation which doesn't. Um, if your books are shrink wrapped and most of them or they haven't been opened and kind of unread, that's a bonus. And, if I'm a dealer, I'm using my own buying scale, which is in harmony with most others. When you're talking about a book that's $300, you can expect to get somewhere around 40%, 45% if it's a really hot book within that series. Um, and what you have is desirable. The other thing that you might want to try is one of the auction houses, because if you have that many of them, even though, $300 is not an attractive book to a Sotheby's or Christie's, there's always other galleries, PBA, Doyle, there's all kinds of places near you if you're in New York. If you're looking to sell them, I would tell you in reality, your best bet is to send them to auction as I'm thinking about what it would take to sell 40 of those books and, you're going to dealers and this and that. The auction house will charge you a percentage, but in the long run, I think you would do much better off with the auction house. Go to Doyle's, ask them what they think about it. I think they would be happy to take those, and I think you would be happy at the end in selling them as your goal.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah,
do
I'm not
you,
interested in becoming a dealer.
what you're not, no, you're not interested in becoming a dealer. No, I understand that. And I'll tell you, in the long run, I would say if you wanted to, this is up to you. If people want to contact you, do you want to give out an email address or a phone number? You're more than welcome to. I give you that option if somebody wants to call you from the show. Off air, that's another story. But in the long run, Carol, put them up at auction. That's if my sister died. If my mom, if any family member who was living right now called me up and said, Steve, what do I do with this? I would tell them what I'm telling you. Send them to auction.
Okay.
Yeah, and Doyle's is a good one. But what you want to do for your own edification is just run them through, you know, um, add all, do a couple a day, or if you got time, just, sit back and get them done. Take some notes, you get an idea what it's worth, call up Doyle's and see what they have to say. I don't think Sotheby's or Christie's would take them, but Doyle's or some other, mid-range galleries in New York absolutely would. Do you have any other books that you want to ask about?
Yes, I do. I have inherited. Don West was a poet from North Georgia. I'm actually in the Atlanta area.
Oh, I thought you were in New York. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I ordered them through New York. Yes.
Gotcha. Like I said, I misunderstood that part of it. You said Don West, W-E-S-T, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Let's,
Yeah.
let me see if
And
we
his
got it.
book of poetry is called Clods of Southern Earth. And a friend of mine is kind of a little bit of an authority on Don West, and he verified the signature for me. But the
When
book
was that
is
written?
back
When was that published?
1936.
Okay, and his name is Don West. Edie, I'm going to hand you a card. And the exact title?
Clods, C-L-O-D-S, of Southern Earth.
Southern Earth, I got. What's the first word?
Clods, C-L-O-D-S, like a dirt.
C-L-O. Clods, Clods of Southern Earth. We got to go to commercial break. Stay on the line. We will have information for you when we come back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay on the line. We'll be back. Take it away, Captain Hook. Bookians, got questions? We're going to be on the air for about another 15 minutes today. If we don't get more callers, I've got a bunch of things to do, and I apologize. It's just not working out today. It's me, not you. Anyway, Carol, I got good news for you. You there?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you, Carol. You actually made my day today, Carol. I hope I can make yours. Okay, you have Clods of Southern Earth, New York, Boney and Gear, 1946. Is yours a paperback?
Yeah.
Okay, paperback, about 7¼ by 9¼ inches tall, 148 pages, deep purple with white pictorial cover, rubbed with, well, I'm reading their description now. Okay, so this is where pricing gets confusing, okay? There's a bookstore whose name I won't mention, has it for $525. Your copy's signed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's better. We can take his price and kind of just put it where the sun don't shine. Um, the next one, I absolutely know who the person is that has the book. I know the dealer. She's got it for $100. Another one. What condition is yours in? I mean, is there when you look at the book, is it pristine, beautiful, never been read, or it looks like it's been in the library? Unlike your other books, it's been handled a lot.
It's been handled a lot.
All right, so it's in good. Let's rate it as good. I'm psychic. I can do these things over the phone. I'm joking. Um, but okay, so the copies range unsigned $50 to $100. The value of his signature, the $525 price on this is BS. I mean, I don't know where they got it from. One's on Abe, one's on Biblio. The same book is $100, but yours is signed. So, I can't tell you I know his status in the world, what his signature be worth exactly. Sometimes the saying is rarer than the rare book is sometimes the buyer for it. I would probably put $150 or so on his signature in that. So you're looking at 250, 300, and I think that's being a little on the generous side, but that's what it is. What other things? You talked about the books that you bought and, you're kind of attached to for various reasons, but if your family is part of a multi-generational family library, the question I would ask now is, what else you got? Is there anything leather bound that's very attractive in the binding area? Is there anything that has a lot of maps, charts, plates, larger size folio and up type books? Anything in.
I believe it's
Say that again?
myself where I set aside any books that were in the 1930s and older.
Uh-huh.
I also
Well, hit me with a couple of titles. Here's what you need to do. Have the book. Just give me the author, the title, the publisher. And then I'll ask you for more or less information, so to speak.
okay. I do have a children's book called A Put Together Atlas that I believe was my father's, where children would cut out countries and then paste them down on the map.
How much of the book is intact? Are the cutouts cut out, or are they in place on the original sheet?
Most
Are you?
cutouts
Go ahead.
are out.
They are cut out.
Cutouts are, yeah.
And are they in color?
Yes.
Okay. Who's the publisher of that book?
Unfortunately, those pages are missing.
Well, then no, there's no real value in it unless it's gorgeous chromolithograph illustrations, broken treasure. There's not much you can do with that.
Okay.
Do you have any of the fame, I call it household word authors, Hemingway, Faulkner,
Yeah,
Fitzgerald, Steinbeck. Okay. Do you have any of those that have dust jackets?
I have, no, I have the best of the world's classics, Henry Cabot Lodge.
Is that signed?
No.
It's not a signed or limited edition. Let me see what we got on him for a second on a quick reference. Hello.
Copyright signed,
Henry Cabot Lodge. Well, no. What was the title again?
the best of the world's classics.
Time period. When was it published?
It was 1909.
Oh, that's right. Okay. It depends on the condition. Is it in good condition or not?
Pretty good. To be as old as it is, yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. That's an. I won't challenge you on that statement with age and relevance, but that's okay. We don't have enough time on that one. No, it probably in the $50 range, sight unseen. One of his nicer books that's desirable is the one he did on Teddy Roosevelt in 1919. That's a limited edition signed. If you had the signed limited edition of that, if there was one or just a signed copy, it would be better off. Let me ask you this. When you said yes, you have the novels, but you don't have the dust jackets. Any Fitzgerald or Hemingway or Steinbeck without dust jackets from the 20s or 30s?
I think there might be a Steinbeck, but I'm not sure.
If you have Fitzgerald's, they're going to be green. It'll be very easy to spot them. It's green cloth.
Stevenson's Kidnapped.
Are you on a speakerphone?
Yeah.
When you talk to me, this is if you move your head while you're talking, I only catch half the sentence. Like you play tennis, there's a sweet spot on the tennis racket. There's a sweet spot on your speakerphone. Go ahead.
Okay.
The Steinbeck book was what title?
Kidnapped. Oh, no, I don't have Steinbeck.
No, that's Kidnapped. That's Robert Louis Stevenson.
Okay.
No problem. Any other ones?
Tennyson's poems.
That's probably going to be a reprint. Alfred Lord. What color is the book? Just out of curiosity.
Red. Copyright says 1897 and 1900.
No, that's a reprint. Let me show. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a reprint. What you want to learn from that is this: when you're looking, and this goes to you and everybody that's out there, when you are looking at the back, the verso, the back side of the title page, and it has the year 1895 in it. And then you go to the title page on the front and it says 1902. You don't have the first edition. It's got to be the earliest year. But if you had, let's say, 1898 on the title page and you had 1898 in the copyright statement, then you have a first edition. So that's just a little trick. If there's discrepancy between the year in the copyright statement and the year on the front of the title page, you got to go with the later year. So your Tennyson is definitely not a first.
Gotcha. I'm glad to hear that because somebody repaired it with electrical tape.
Yeah, well, that's another story. I know how you can take a course on how to unrepair the electrical tape. Saveyourbooks.com. Sophia T. Anything to do with repair, restoration, and especially correcting those kind of mistakes. Come on, I want you to hit a home run. Any hunting, fishing,
There's gotta be one here
firearms.
somewhere, right?
Chances are you got one. Any hunting, fishing.
You're right.
I like that song.
I've got one that looks in real bad shape here. It has a red cover embossed, the complete poetical works of John Milton.
No. It's going to be one of those big embossed books, and no. When you start seeing the collected works, those kind of things, that automatically implies that it's not a first edition. It might be the first edition of that publisher's collected works, but no. What about subjects like hunting, fishing, firearms, archery, military history, anything that looks like a beautiful leather-bound book in a binding, regardless of the subject matter? Are there any really big, older books in there that might have maps, charts, plates? By plates meaning
Have,
illustrations.
how about The Birds of America by John James Audubon?
Yeah, it's a 1939 big thick book.
Yes.
Okay, who's the publisher?
Macmillan.
Turn it to the back of the title page. What does it say back there? Was it what does it say in the copyright statement, and what does it say on the title page? Are the years harmonious, or are they different?
The copyright on the back is 1937 by the Macmillan Company,
Right, and on the title
November
page,
of 1937.
they're both
Also
1930s.
1937.
Both very good. Okay, you don't have the dust jacket by any chance, do you?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, what you have is a first edition of that book that's been reprinted many times, but the first edition is worth a couple of $100 if it's in really good condition. It's got to be in good condition. It's a very common book, but it's desirable because most people can't afford the $8 million for the original Autobahns. Um, or the $15,000 for various reproductions. So it's a nice book. It's not easily saleable, but it's a nice book. Um, let's see, what other subject matter? What do you have that's just oddball? I mean, farm equipment catalogs, any old equipment catalogs from anything, any old sporting books of any kind, any books on animals pre-1900 that are very specific or anything. Just trying to figure out what others. So we got
I
about two
have,
minutes. We got about 2 minutes left. So let me say it this way,
I
Carol.
have
Go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I have a box set, 2 volumes, General Oglethorpe's Georgia Colonial Letters.
Oh, that could be interesting.
Right.
Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. During the course of the week, line up some books you have questions on. Take a couple of pictures. You have Messenger. You're on Messenger with me now. Send me about half a dozen books that you have questions on, and during the course of the week, I'll look at the message and try and respond to you as quickly as I can. It may take a couple of days. And anytime I say this to you, I say this to anybody out there, tell your friends. If you know people that have questions like you do about their home libraries, they can call the show every Saturday from 10 to 12. I love doing this. I love interviewing people, but to tell you the truth, I like doing what I'm doing with you more than anything else. Okay? So thank you. And on that note, we're about to hit the dead air, the takeover spot. If Roy Rogers and Dale Evans were book dealers, you and I would be singing happy book sales and buys to you till we meet again. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, everybody out there.
Thank
Captain
you.
Hook, love